steaming. This is a steamer I've used for God knows how many years. But it's really, really good. This thing will survive the apocalypse. Yes. It's easy to clean, it's durable. You can use the pot to wash rice too, of course. You can steam it. And yes, this thing will never, never, never break. So I highly recommend it. If you want one of these, let me know. We're going to talk about rice to water ratios. Now, when you start learning makgeolli, you'll always hear that there's the 1-to-1. So that means for 1 kilogram of rice, you use 1 liter of water. And that tends to work very, very well. And I advise many people who are just getting into makgeolli to try that. Now, what happens is that's not always a rule of thumb too. What you can actually do is you can play with a little bit of these ratios. I would recommend doing this if you're a little bit more used to already making makgeolli. And because changing those ratios will also affect in the long run the time in your fermentation process. If you want to try using a little bit more rice, then go for it. So usually the standard is if you're gonna add more rice, it's gonna give you a little bit more texture too, of course. It's gonna perhaps make it sweeter too. Or instead of just using more rice, try to cut back a little bit on the water too. Usually, okay, so when you make makgeolli and you soak it and you steam it, of course, your rice is gonna be much heavier because of that water absorption. So usually what I like to do sometimes too is I just subtract no more than usually or somewhere between 10 to 15% of the water that I'm actually going to be adding later on for my makgeolli. So instead of just using more rice, you can actually subtract a little bit of the water too. Or on the other hand too, if you prefer makgeolli that's not too much on the sweeter side too, you can cut back on the rice or add a little bit more water. But again, these shifts or changes within the 1-to-1, they will either speed up the process of your makgeolli making process, or it can also delay it to a little bit more. So again, the 1-to-1 ratio, follow it for a couple of batches. Don't do, you know, too drastic changes, right? Do little increments or do little changes within like 5 to 10% and see how that shifts and changes your makgeolli too. Of course, keeping in mind that you're always fermenting at the temperatures and levels that you would usually do, also with a 1-to-1, right? So of course, take notes, and that's the only way you'll learn. Or keep a journal. Yes, that's the only way you'll learn. All right, so in this short video, again, the 1-to-1 and how shifting a little bit of those numbers can perhaps create something a little bit more different. Cool. So we're gonna jump into slightly more deeper brewing concepts in the next video.